Welcome to another episode of Recliner Wrestling Review. I'm Jared here with my friends John, and we've got two guests, our first guests that we've ever had on the show. We've got Julia and Steven. Guys, thanks for making it over here to the studio and being on the show today.
Absolutely.
So, I think that this is going to be just kind of, we're going to throw some stuff against the wall, see what sticks, because that's what you're supposed to do in podcasting, right? So, I think that our guests today have created kind of a list of questions that they would like to ask and things they would like to discuss. Be sure to like this video, share it with your tag team partners, and hit your finisher on that subscribe button, brother. Ooh, yeah, dig it. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass it right on to, I'll let Julia start and take it away with your first, what's on your docket.
Well, absolutely. So we always, I'm a list maker. I like making lists and coming up with things like, you know, a top 4, a top 5. And so what I always love to do is a Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
So, of course, lots of people in wrestling talk about their all-time Mount Rushmore, but I like to have a little more fun with it and pick a topic.
Nice. It makes it easier too when you're trying to narrow things down to just 4.
Exactly. It's too hard to narrow down to 4 because there's so many wrestlers to love,
right,
and so many different little changes, and you know what makes them great, what doesn't, and that kind of thing. And so I did bounce a couple of ideas off of Jared earlier just to kind of see which ones stood out the most. And the first one that Steven is my husband, if we haven't had that discussion yet.
There you go.
Yeah. And so he and I
knew that already.
Okay. Well, good for you.
I didn't.
Congrats.
Yeah, congratulations to both of you.
Right.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's kind of new.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of new. But so anyway, the first things that we thought of, okay, let's do a Mount Rushmore of finishing moves. Because it's something that's very, you know, very iconic to each and every wrestler. You know, it usually has its own name, even if it's the same, you know, even if there are wrestlers that do the same move, it has a different name, you know, and a different wrestler. And so, yeah, I would love to have all 4 of us do our top 4 in no particular order. Just like I said, put them on your Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
Of finishing moves. So, of course, I've got my notes, so I need to make sure that
I'd
I have
like
my
to hear
notes
all
in front
your
of me.
alls first, and then I'll tell you why you're wrong.
That's the guy who has had time to think about this.
Right?
And write it down.
I'm literally like starting to write it down now.
Exactly. So let me see if I can get mine pulled up here real quick. Of course, I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball here. I was like, I should have had it pulled up.
No
by
problem.
now.
No problem. So let me ask this. So I'm assuming by finishing moves. So let's talk in terms of like wrestling video games for a second. Are we talking finisher moves and signature moves? Just finishers.
Just finishers.
Okay. Glad I asked that.
I'm glad you did.
They have to be the fatality. They can't be the babality and all those. It has to be.
So, submission or get a 3 count?
Right?
I think it can be either or, just whatever stands out for you.
Okay.
You know, if it comes at the end of that, you know, whether it's by a count out or a tap out, I think either of those 2 can count.
Well, and I got a little fancy because I can't make choices without very narrow criteria.
I mean, yeah.
So I have a Lincoln. You know, I have one for each, right? So they're different in their own special way because they're snowflakes. So I have one that is a submission in it. And so there's only one head that's on there that's submission. Right, so only one of my finishers gets to be a submission.
Yeah.
So it made it a little bit easier for me because then I could compare just that to that.
It's the figure 4 of the sharpshooter, right?
Right? Right? I mean,
you're kind of narrowed down at that point.
Okay, let me hit the pause button one more time. So if we're doing finisher moves now, let me ask this. Are we doing submission moves later? Or is now the time to use?
Are we including submission moves in this, or do we want to split them out?
Mine has 1 head for submissions. 1 head for submission. So I only get 1 for submissions. I did 1 for striking. So a striking finishing
strike
move.
Gotcha.
I did 1 for drivers because when I look at finishing moves, I list them down, right? I'm like, okay, and we're in the age of kick out of a finishing move. Then is it a finish? If the book doesn't end, if there's another chapter past the book, is that really the end of the book?
But do you put that on the move or the wrestler?
I put that on the move.
That's where we're different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I put it on Vince McMahon, but I put it on, you know.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
You got to make the finisher strong if it's really a finisher.
Protected. You got to protect it.
I agree.
It. Yep.
But that on its own is its own podcast right there.
right,
Like,
exactly.
why are finishers not finishers in
Yes.
2021?
Exactly.
Yes.
But so then I did a cutter and a driver, because when I started going through finishers in my head and thinking just on the concept, if someone did this to me in real life, how dead would I be? And all the drivers, you know, Tiger Driver, you know, Pile Drivers, all those different ones, you just look at them and go, that guy's dead. I mean, you know, I can suspend disbelief, but that guy is dead now. And yeah, that's what you call a real finishing move. So I narrowed that down to just its own category and said, give me one driver that is the.
Yeah, and see, I didn't do any of those things. I just picked my 4 favorite and ran
girl.
with it. Yeah.
Okay, you're making me feel a little better.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, you should. This guy is like robotic and like must have math.
That's right.
Yeah, that's that guy.
So
I'm just going to go ahead and jump into mine.
All right.
I'm just going to throw the 4 out, see what sticks, and then let you all argue or tell me how I'm wrong.
I've only got 3 written so far, so
okay. All right.
We'll
so
see
that
if you
gives you
me.
time to get that 4th. Yes. And you'll
I've got
find out
9.
right. Narrowing
I have
it
like
down was
12.
hard.
This is not a 3D model of a
Narrowing it down was
it's
impossible.
one side.
Narrowing it down was impossible, and I'm sure you guys are going to probably talk me out of and into all kinds of things.
That'll be the
Because
theme of today.
You've already made me go, oh crap, on at least a few things. So, but these are the 4 that just fell out of my brain. So,
Okay.
I've got to start with my strongest one to me, which is Undertaker's Tombstone Piledriver. It's important. It's big. It's monstrous. People know it. People love it. It scares the crap out of you because, like, oh my God, his neck is broken.
Yep.
So I think it hits.
Easy. Too soon.
So it checks all the check boxes for me. Another one that's a favorite of me that's still kind of, and the thing is, the finisher should kind of scare you. Like, oh my God, is everybody okay? Is usually how it goes if it's a good finisher for me. So that the next one that I picked was a little bit newer. It's AJ Styles and the Styles Clash, because that's a different thing. Like, because normally you want to tuck your chin, but that's one where you have to change the position of your body to not get really hurt.
Right.
And so for AJ to pull it off,
Unless you're Ellsworth.
which is my point exactly. If you can't pull it off, you should not be in an AJ Styles Clash. Oh my God.
To be fair, you have to have a chin to tuck.
Oh my God. So my point exactly. So one of my favorite things, and here recently, AJ gave one of them to Ricochet, and Ricochet took it perfectly like a champ because Ricochet knows how to move his body right. Yeah. So yeah, that's my second one that I have listed. Another one that's iconic, regardless of what it really does to the person who takes it, the Stone Cold Stunner. There's nothing like that kick and that pull and that grab. And even though KO does the stunner, to me, it belongs to Stone Cold. So that's why I picked him for that. And then this final one, feel free to argue about it all you want because he's one of my favorites. Seth Rollins curb stomp. There's something powerful to it. There's something really strong about it when you slam somebody's head. And apparently I like drivers, if you can't tell.
You got a lot of hit range.
I got a lot of slam him into the floor. So those were my 4. So Steven, go ahead and take it away. I'm going to let you go next.
All right. Yeah, sure.
This better be good, but no.
Oh, it will be. It will be. I mean, you can just start writing down now.
Right.
But I'm going to start hitting kind of some of the criteria, right? I look at how iconic it is, right? So a finisher doesn't just, I mean, you just decimate him. That's fine. But the stunner is a great one, right? So the stunner is a great one because there's that toe kick before it, right? So it's not just the stunner. It's that toe kick, which when you see him hit the toe kick, the eyes, and you focus on the screen, right? If you're doing some other things, you're like, oh my God, it's about to happen, right? You need that little tune-up right before the band hits, right?
You can thank Michael P.S. Hayes for that, by the way.
Yes, right? Yeah. And you know, and when she talks about it, and when we did it, because I asked her when she's making the rules, right? So I'm like, so is it the move? Is it the finishing move?
It's the whole collection of the
right?
setup and everything.
Well, and is it the person with the finishing move, right? Because the stunner isn't Stone Cold's, right? The stunner is Laurinaitis, and I'm not putting him on any list. But
Okay.
right? But you start looking at who made it famous, and so
Exactly.
So yeah, so my list, and it's going to be mainstream heavy, and I don't always like that, but I look at, did it finish, right? Is it one of those that you knew when it was hit, the match was pretty well over? If they kicked out, it was amazingly shocking,
Sure.
right? It needed to be, people knew that this guy did this thing.
Well, and you're talking about staying mainstream. Real quick, I want to interject. Like, let's be fair. It's hard. It's not as protected any move in independent wrestling or any smaller promotion. So,
I mean, AEW's done a damn good job. Nate, who's kicked out of the Judas Effect yet?
That's nobody, but that's the only wrestler that you can name that hasn't kicked out of a finisher.
Yeah. Absolutely. Exactly. But they're at least have one. At least they have one.
Right.
One-winged angel.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Well, he's only done it once
in AEW.
Right.
And somebody's kicked out of it in New Japan.
One-winged angel?
Yes.
In New Japan.
Oh, he's done it a bunch, but nobody's kicked out.
In AEW?
Right. Yes.
Not of the one-winged angel, because he always gets close to doing it and then never ends up doing it except
that's right.
Like once.
So AEW has done so far, in my opinion, a really pretty good job at protecting. Better, like you say, independence or
super kick.
Oh well. Whose finisher is the super kick?
Shawn Michaels.
Oh well, yeah.
But business.
The one that made it iconic.
Right. Yeah. And then that's the problem, right? So that's another discussion
that's
entirely.
Honestly, just as a spoiler,
finishers aren't finishers anymore.
Right.
They're now signatures of other people, which is a problem.
All right, so where are you at on your list, then, Steven?
Right, so yeah, let's just roll them down.
Stunner.
So I have the stunner, which is got to be Stone Cold. Stone Cold, right? I mean, that's just right. The strike, I got the Shawn Michaels super kick. I mean, as it's a kick to the face, it's not that big a deal, yada yada yada. But how he performed it, the fact that he could do it, one of those out of nowhere, he could do it on anybody, which is another big thing. You know, you have to be able to hit your finisher no matter who the other guy is. Which, you know, you have to be somebody like John Cena. If your move is picking the guy up and slamming him down, you got to be somebody that can actually lift anybody, even if they're helping you, right? You got to be able to lift them. And there has to be a perception that you're going to be able to lift that guy before that finisher is a solid finisher for you. So Undertaker, Piledriver, Figure 4, Nature Boy, right? And one could argue that Figure 4 a couple of different ways, but if you say the Figure 4,
who's the first one?
Right. All right, John. Hope you've got your 9 narrowed down, or you've probably added more and narrowed down more.
Good luck.
No, I did add more. But I added one for you to trip you up. I'm with Julia and Steven. The stunner was the first thing that came to my list.
Literally
first
on my
thing that came to my head.
Yep.
Hands down. Then you guys were talking submissions, and Steven, you went Figure 4. I went sharpshooter all the way. Because that is what I grew up with, loving. All my friends when we wrestle. What's up?
St. Louis.
You're up north a little, right?
Yeah.
He's over
north, yeah. But yeah, sharpshooter all the way for me. And for, I don't know, I went nostalgia for my third one. I went Razor's Edge.
Oh, yeah.
Very nice.
Absolutely.
I love it. I mean, that was one.
Very protected. Another very protected move.
Yeah, I'm not thinking of a lot of people kicking out of it. I'm sure it happened, but I'm not thinking of many.
Right.
And number 4, Hulk Hogan's leg drop. No.
Oh, I was like, I'm about ready to disconnect you from the chat.
I was torn between that one and the worm. Really, it's got too hot. I wasn't sure.
And this one, I'm surprised you guys didn't pick. But I mean, you guys both had the Tombstone, so that makes sense. I went F5.
Oh,
very nice.
Because it's the first time I saw Lesnar do that in the ring, I went, "Oh, whoa!
Right,
that's somebody." That was awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
We talked about that in our debuts episode, and what an impact it made.
Yeah.
It was massive.
Yeah, it wasn't like other things. That was an impressive piece.
Well,
Yeah,
and we should do a Mount Rushmore of people who can take finishing moves, because again, I go back to my boy Seth Rollins. Those F5s that he took, like to the chairs in the backstage area, were like scary as crap.
I'll tell you who
man.
my number one is.
Who's that?
Zach Gowen.
Oh,
Dude could tell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But my two, like the two I really had a hard time leaving off this list. One was the Unprettier, because up until Christian left WWE, I think maybe Cena kicked out of it, maybe, and TNA everybody kicked out of it. But
yeah,
right.
But his first run in WWE, nobody got out of the Unprettier, and I love that. The other one, Jared, you're gonna pop. Well, maybe not.
By the way, mine are all written, so I'm not adding anything. So
another submission, honorable mention, cattle mutilation.
I knew it.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
That is, whew, and that's just me being a mark for Bryan. So,
Right. Yep.
And Jared, just to throw off your list, is Rhino's Gore on your list?
It is not, surprisingly, but no.
You need to make an edit?
Nope. I'm sticking with what I got.
Okay. All right, let's hear it.
My number one, the first thing, same with John, stunner. Like that's the finishing move. Not only because it was so protected, but just like Steven really very well described, like it's the setup, it's the whole thing. And
the other thing I wanted to add about the stunner, it's sudden. And I think that really made a great impact as far as the finisher. It's a sudden finisher. It's real quick. Kind of like the Diamond Cutter, the RKO. It's a quick finish. And boom, there it is. And everybody stands up and cheers.
I know if anybody here listens to a lot of wrestling podcasts and stuff, you'll hear a lot of the quote-unquote experts say that the best finishers are the ones that you can put on anybody. And I agree with that. But I do also agree, John, with what you're saying. Like, it needs to be quick and impactful, too. Like, a long setup time isn't always great. So stunner I've got for number one. Number two, I've got Shawn Michaels' Sweet Chin Music. And I specifically say Shawn because he was the best and his was the most protected.
Yeah.
Number three, the Go to Sleep.
Yeah. Which one?
who's
Kenta.
Yeah, I'm like, do I?
Kenta.
Yeah, for sure, Kenta. And so here's where the struggle starts. So I'm going to scratch off what I originally had because it's already been said, which was a Tombstone. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and go with John. You'll not be surprised at all. I'm going to go with the pedigree, just because the same kind of impact and that kind of thing. The one that I struggled with, if we're going to do like a single honorable mention, was the beginnings of the mandible claw. And I say that because do you remember when it first happened and they would do like they would foam from the mouth and stuff?
Yes.
Like as a kid, dude, that freaked me out. And I was like, oh my God, which is exactly what a finisher should do.
And I'm going to punch holes in your pedigree because I thought about that one long and hard and I can't put on the pedigree, even though I know it's well known because Pepsi Plunge. I can't put the pedigree on there and not put the Pepsi Plunge.
Okay, well, wait a minute. We've got the stunner. Why do we not have Amber Moon's top rope reversal stunner thing?
Because it hasn't been around as long.
Boo! Bad argument.
Well, and that's it. But there were a lot of them.
Time to become iconic.
Exactly. But that was a lot of them for me. It's like Black Mass, man. I want to put Black Mass on there. And if you ask me in another 2 years if they ever put him back on TV, Black Mask might be on that for me, but it just hasn't been around enough. You haven't seen it hit enough. You haven't seen it hit from out of nowhere enough. You know, it's just one of those.
So it needs an iconic status.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
It is. You need the signature wins on them. On top of that,
that's fair. I mean, and like we discussed before we recorded with Julia and Steven, whatever we say today will probably be different when we wake up in the morning or when we rewatch this video on YouTube.
That's like, why I wrote them
might
down.
Change my mind right here, right now.
Right. Exactly. So
nobody out of the four of us, nobody used the rock bottom. Kind of surprised.
Really? Nah.
I love it, but
I mean, if Booker T let him use it, it's fine.
All right. So Steven, I'll let you take a hand here. What else you got for us?
I think you do the most frivolous. I think the most important one. Let's do the most frivolous.
That's the pretty one. You want the pretty?
Who's
All right.
prettiest? Who's best looking?
So the best looking,
okay.
right? So
Totally frivolous.
So exactly, right? So, and I'm just like, I don't know how to do this. So I did the same thing, right? So I went girl face, boy face, girl body, boy body. There's my 4 votes.
And here I thought it was going to be an even split between you and John and me and Julia.
Right?
We talked about that.
We did.
Nice.
Yeah. I said the same thing. I'm like, people are just going to put girls on there. And I'm like, I'm so bad at judging guys.
Well, I'll tell you if you're right or wrong then.
So let's go with the boys. Boy body, Rick Rude. Ravishing Rick Rude. Ripped as hell.
So you're going for body only,
Just body,
not
right?
not face, right?
Yeah, he's got to have the butter face because that's the lop off the head guy. But
from the neck down.
yeah. I mean, ripped, right? Boy face. I'm going with the man that not only had one of the best looks, he protected it, right? We talk about the finishers that were protected. This is a look that was protected. Cody Rhodes, right? If you have it, you have to put the face cover across it from time to time to make sure nobody impedes it. So that's the obvious honorable mention there, just because of where we are, right? We're in Missouri. Handsome Harley Race. He wasn't
handsome.
But
sorry,
it's in the name. He had to.
But no.
So
love him.
So girl face. Paige.
I got you here.
Paige.
Paige is my girl.
Wow.
Paige.
So Paige for the face.
Yeah, Paige for the face.
Okay.
And for the body, going back and honorable mention here, and the concept of women that have to go on the best looking. The most downloaded woman, Sunny. She's got to be at least in the conversation, right? So if nobody else says her, she's got to be in the conversation. You can't have the most downloaded woman on AOL without at least saying, well, it's got to be something. But Trish Stratus
is your fourth and final body.
Fourth and final. Women's body.
Yeah,
Right.
and I was so sure that I was going to pick some girls because there's plenty of beautiful women in there. But I ended up with all boys when I got it all narrowed down. Again, it was really difficult. 3 of these probably won't be surprises, but one of them might be.
Okay.
All right,
Seth Rollins.
Ta-da! It's like you know me. I might have a husband who kind of has some, has that dark hair, the brown eyes, does the beard. There's a whole. He has. We cosplay as wrestlers, so he's done the Seth Rollins to great success. Not gonna lie.
Nice.
So yes, Seth tops the list. The next one is an interesting take. Finn Balor. He's got that 300 body, right? And he has a face that I find really charming because he's kind of got that adorkable face, right? But when he gets serious, like he'll scare the crap out of you. And like when he is dressed up, when he does the makeup.
I don't know. I haven't seen. Does he do makeup?
The demon?
Yes, the demon. That's
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I couldn't find the word demon. But
That's all
yes.
right.
So when he is Demon Finn, it's like dark and amazing and like whoa. So which I also like. The other one that's going to be pretty obvious is The Rock. He's super stacked built and has that bad boy grin, and I like bad boy grins. And so he seemed an obvious choice. Of course, he's got a face for movies these days, so I'm backed up by a lot of people that think he's adorable too. And then my final one that people might find surprising, we'll find out. Roddy Piper. Even in his young years, his old years, he again. Bad boy grins. Think about all my 4 that I picked. They pretty much all have that bad boy smirk. And Roddy did it fantabulously. Like when he had short hair, when he had long hair, when he was in his best shape, that's when he was best. But even when he was getting kind of old and round, he still had that kind of older fella that's still distinguishedly good looking. And the fact that he took as much damage as he did and still looked all right, in comparison to his contemporaries was a big deal. So Roddy is a big all-time favorite of mine, and I just thought he had a charmingly good look to him.
Okay.
So, yeah, I knew that was going to be the weird one.
Well, I'll be honest. Yes, it's weird, but I'll take that way over Harley Race. So.
Agreed. Totally. So that's my 4.
All right, that's fair.
Okay. I'll go ahead and go next.
Okay.
For the pretty face, Maria Kanellis was always a very pretty lady. For body, Steven, I'm going to have to agree with you.
Really? Oh, no.
Oh. I'm going to go with Trish Stratus. I mean, she broke the mold as far as like wrestlers go, and like former fitness model, the whole deal. She had that package. Oh, sure. Yeah, you pick her.
My list is already overflowing.
Yeah. For male best body in the business kind of thing, I'm going to go Randy Orton, just because he debuted in what, like 2002? And he's never really fluctuated. He's been cut the entire time.
Now I heard on really good authority that for a while after an injury, he had a neck like a roll of quarters.
It's possible.
Vince McMahon, if you remember, there was a promo that Vince McMahon shot on him that he's like, you're all low and have a neck like a roll of quarters.
Yeah.
Ow.
But I went Randy, just, I don't know. He's the one that stood out. And that pretty face for the men, I'm going to have to go Rey Mysterio.
I mean, he does have
he's kind of
okay. Two things. Two things here. First of all, he's masked, so how good looking can he be? Secondly, whenever he is unmasked, that dude never ages. Like, it's insane.
Yeah. But I'd take a page out of Steve Corino and say Adam Cole. He's pretty. Yeah,
he is a good looking guy. Yeah,
he's pretty.
John, kudos to you for having mixed genders on your list. I
thought it was one of each.
Here. So
No, trust me. There's not a woman in sight on mine. So, all right. Thankfully, this is in no order because we would be here all day on this. So I'm just going to go right down the list. Sammy Guevara. Okay, that he is number one. Why am I drawing a blank on the last name? Kip Sabian. Thank you.
Chris Jericho.
Chris Jericho 2002.
Jared loves all of them, all the iterations.
Oh yeah. Just my cup runneth over. I would have to say, that I definitely agree with Julia on Finn Balor. And from here it gets hard. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say the first one that I had written down was in my fourth position, Jungle Boy.
Hey,
yeah,
interesting choice.
Yeah. If I had to add a honorable mention, it would be surprisingly Angelico.
Really?
Just that little, I'm like, all right. What's your little swagger?
Yeah. I was about to say that's a little bit more video than picture, right? Because it's a little bit of the attitude and the whole package is
true. But I'll say that once he got rid of the full body Goldust like suit, I was like, oh, okay. Well, and here's the thing too, and I want to make this point because for anybody that's watching that has known me for a long time knows that I have fought tooth and nail for years. Like, they're like, oh, I know why you watch wrestling, and I'm like, no, it's not that. And it's never been that. But I mean, since we brought it up, and I'm like, well, you got to call a spade a spade. So there you go. There's my list.
Awesome. Yeah, and I did struggle with whether I should pick some girls or not because I do. Paige is gorgeous. Trish and Lita. Those three were the three where I was like, man,
I'm surprised.
I'm adding a girl. Those
and I'll tell you, some of the girls that have been my big wrestling crush girls didn't even make the list. I've never been a crusher on Lita. Or Lita is one of them, right? So Trish, I've never been a crusher on. I've been like, what? I mean, I get it, right? Aesthetically, I get it, but Lita has always been my girl. Mickie James, Mickie James, I think is gorgeous, right? And so some of these other girls are the same way. Bayley, I'm a huge popper for Bayley. So a lot of the girls that I think are gorgeous and all of that stuff, I didn't quite make the list for me.
Julia, what else on your list of topics have you got?
We have two more. It's kind of one side and the other side. And so the other one was best current wrestler, and then there's also best legacy wrestler.
Oh, so two different Mount Rushmores.
Two separate Rushmores, and I just kind of wanted to kind of balance the two out with each other. So I bet you can guess what my first one's going to be.
Yeah. No.
I know, right? I just don't know what's wrong with me, but Seth Rollins. Woohoo.
Okay.
So yeah, no shocks there.
For current or legacy?
Current.
Okay.
And that's the other thing. Like I kind of struggled with that too, because everybody's off on baby break time right there. So I was like, okay, I still think of them as current, even though, maybe it's been a few months. And so in line with that, Becky's my girl. I love Becky Lynch. She is like, I feel like her persona, her hardworkingness, everything about her, she and Seth are both workhorses. They bust their asses in the ring and it shows. They work hard to take care of everybody around them. They just have all those things that make me love a wrestler to the nth degree. And so, so Becky is definitely on best current as well as Seth. The next one is one that, since I didn't watch New Japan for a long time, I was kind of clueless until he showed up at AEW, and it's Kenny Omega. I ended up falling in love, and Steven laughs at me because I'm like, Kenny, huh? Because I was that that was like, I don't watch anything. Yeah, so I don't watch anything outside of here. And so when I got my eyes opened, and I'm not afraid to admit it, I got my eyes open to Kenny Omega, and then I was stunned. And so I went back and watched all that video from New Japan. I'm like, holy crap, he's fantastic. And so when we saw live AEW, I popped when he came out. I'm like, oh my God, Kenny Omega, he's in the same building as me. And so it was like a huge fan out moment, and he has been my favorite ever since. I love what he does. I love that crazy attitude of his, and just again, it's that he's a workhorse. You can see him, just busting his ass. Amazing, and I love it. And then the other one I did go ahead and pick another female for the group, and it's Charlotte Flair. She's strong. She's amazing. She kicks ass. There's something about her that has that star power, and I feel like she has taken what came to her through her father and just run with it. And I think what she's doing, on the mic and what she's doing in the ring is just fabulous. Like, what is a 6-foot girl doing on that top rope, flip flopping, running around and landing on her feet? Like, yeah, she absolutely stuns me in every possible way. She's pretty. She has fabulous ring gear, which I love ring fashion. I wish we should have done top 4 ring gear. But yeah, so those are my 4. So, and like I said, Charlotte Flair, her robes are fantabulous. Just as a side note.
So just to be clear, these are current people that are like your favorites, or that are like
they're my favorites, and I feel like they are firing on all cylinders. Like,
okay, gotcha.
They're the workhorse. They are amazing. They're great on camera. They're great on the mic. They're doing things that just make me pop. And
gotcha.
Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah. So my lists are far more personal, far less methodical. I'm shooting from the hip. Steven is like taking X-Acto.
Well, there's a formula. You don't understand.
So on to you, Steven. Let's hear 5 minutes on your formula.
I will say that this one in particular killed me, and to help myself out, right? So I did the other ones categorized. I couldn't figure out nice little categories for each head on this one. I threw out New Japan entirely.
Wow.
Because I started with heads, and I was going to put New Japan as a head, and I couldn't find one. I could not put one there because I'm like, no. But this year, have you looked at this year? I haven't watched it all, and so I feel like if I say one, I'll be like, oh, that match. No, I heard about that match, but I never watched it, so it never impacted me. So I'm just like, I can't. I got to stay away from it, right? So what I looked for was the biggest impact, right? So wrestlers today that are making the biggest impact in wrestling, right? So they're moving the needle, they're changing the dial, they are Stone Cold, right? They are DX, they are those wrestlers, they are the NWO, they are the ones that are making the new. But
I know,
that are moving
right?
the needle.
But they're changing the direction of wrestling.
Okay. All right, who are your 4?
So
let's hear your 4.
Yeah. So this one will be interesting, right? So Kenny Omega. And then I cheated and went with the Young Bucks.
Oh, because you got two.
Because they're an entity. They're not individuals, they're an entity.
Okay.
Tessa Blanchard and Becky Lynch.
And I'm going to poke a hole in yours. I don't think Becky's going to have a match this year.
Well, that's true.
And Tessa, I mean, it's a lot of wait and see right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it's not current as far as this year. It is current active.
But she's not active. Neither one of those are active. There's potential that they could come at any minute and be active, but
Yeah. I mean, half my list is basically not active.
like I would love to put Aleister Black, like,
but where is
now,
he right
but
now?
exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
Who did
absolutely.
he beat?
Well, if you would have watched NXT,
I know.
Since he got called up 2 years ago, who'd he beat?
nobody. Thanks, Vince. Thanks, Vince.
That he beat Murphy with the
Now
bad
I'm hot.
pants. With the bad pants, he beat Murphy. He couldn't beat him with the good pants, but he beat him with the bad pants.
I was pretty happy about that.
But yeah, I just think the Young Bucks in particular, right? They changed it. They made independent mainstream, right? They're the first ones in Hot Topic. They're the first ones with the pops, all that good kind of stuff. Kenny Omega, same style, which is he brought the independence where it was. And again, it's like Flair, right? Was Flair the thing? Well, no, there were plenty before him doing that exact same thing. There's nothing original about Ric Flair, but he figured out a way to put it all together and perfect it. And then he was that symbol that could be held up by everybody else. That is this is a culmination of a lot of people. And I think Kenny Omega is kind of that same way, which is he himself is, I mean, he's a great wrestler, but he himself is not what everyone looks at. He is the culmination of everything. You know, he is Chris Benoit when he was over in Japan. You know, he's all of those people that have been forever coming from that same genre, and everyone has ignored it after they made it big. Kenny Omega has been able to tack it on to the, you know, this is my precursor to where I am, and it is now a thing, as opposed to ignore everything that was before WWE, and now this is all who I am, change my name, do all this stuff. So I think that has changed it. I think Young Bucks changed it. I really think that Tessa changed it. Now, if you watched Lucha Underground, you know, they had the women and the men, and they were really riding it good, but Tessa kind of brought it to a bigger stage with that same thing. And I think Becky, you know, WWE women main eventing is, with any level of regularity, is insane. And she has been one of those staples there. Now, there's a lot that I would love to put on there. Bayley, I love Bayley. And I think that as far as workhorses, you know, I am a Jericho fan from WWE back in the day when he would be on Raw as a heel and SmackDown as a face, working 3 different programs with 3 different people, and it just workhorsing the hell out of it. Now he lost in like everything, but the fact that he could pull that off, the fact that he could come to the ring for 4 or 5 weeks straight, not say a word, and get the biggest pop of the night anyway, and then turn heel off of that same pop is insane to me. You know, those are criteria, and Becky does that same type of thing. So that's my defense. Those are my defense. Get a little defensive on it.
All right. Let's not break the cycle here. John, what do you think?
Based off of 2020, if you look at 2020 as a whole and into this year, it's Moxley. I mean, he's the man. And
I had a hard time putting him on just because I didn't think he deserved to share it with 3 other people. That was another one of those things. I'm like,
yeah, I mean,
that's right. He gets to be in the Lincoln Memorial by himself, not on the Mount Rushmore.
So Moxley's got to be there. When we're looking at the whole year, if we're talking the past year, or currently what's going on right now, Jericho's still there for me. And I know that everything the dude touches is gold. Like, one of the hottest stories currently is the Inner Circle breaking up. He's in a match with the Young Bucks and MJF coming up. The ridiculous musical he did a couple months ago with MJF, whatever the Mimosa match with Orange Cassidy, it's ridiculous. Anything he touches
Right?
Cool.
And that one should not have been good at all. I saw that one coming, and I'm like, I'm not even wait.
Yeah.
Jericho? Okay, I'll watch it because it could still be good.
Who wears a scarf?
MJF's wearing it, a different one. But they fight over the gimmick. I love it. About who wore it first. My number 3, and this is my bold prediction for 2021. Daniel Bryan. Bryan is still the man. I like his promo the other night on Talking Smack about he was the best in the world before CM Punk, and I still think, like you look at The Fiend. The Fiend has had one good match, and it's against Daniel Bryan because Bryan just doesn't have bad matches. So I think this is going to be Bryan's year. The 4th spot I really struggled with. I've got 6 names for that 4th spot.
They're going to have to be really small heads then.
Yeah. No, and it's I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
I got you, John. Hang on.
Anybody got to die?
Yeah. So, Roman Reigns.
Roman Reigns.
His heel work, he's been on fire this year. He is he's probably the best part of SmackDown, minus the Bryan segments. Roman.
Well, and I'll tell you what
I don't want to say that over Kenny, but
what helped Roman Reigns, what really helped Roman Reigns is the new how they run in the Thunderdome, right? Because he has always had problems on the mic and yelling and all this good kind of stuff. His I'm going to murder you style, because you can now hear them talk softly in the ring, has done wonders for his character, because he is just, he's here. He's never here. And so you could never hear him yell in the match. It just didn't make any logical sense, right? His hoo-ah seemed always kind of forced. But the stuff that he's doing now, which is really, it's that I heard a whole story about Harley Race a long time ago where Mick Foley said he was one of the most intimidating men in the world, and he never rose his voice. He would just lean in, talk to you like this, and he's like, and you would just shit yourself, right? So it's like Roman Reigns,
real slow.
Yeah, take the snake, exactly.
No. The other guys on my list, like to leave Kenny Omega off is insanity, I know, but I think 2021 is going to be Kenny's year also. Adam Cole, Cody, AJ Styles, we're all up there. And the New Japan guy for me, I know a lot of people are big on Naito, but for me it's Okada. Like,
there you go.
I love Okada, and I think Okada and Kenny is going to happen in the USA this year. So Julia, like, you're going to see my head explode.
Make sure we get it on camera.
Yeah, it's not going to be good.
Use.
One of those good 3-dimensional angles, though.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be an awesome match.
Again, but first time for a U.S. audience, like to really like see it headlined, and yeah, I think it'd be insane.
So I've got most of my list is based on they're right here, and I see them like going to the next level and like just to the moon kind of thing.
Sammy Guevara.
Sammy Guevara is on there. Yeah. Also on there, John and I have talked at length in several discussions previously about this, but Hangman Adam Page, my gosh, yeah.
And I think it'll be. It's tough because I know AEW is probably wanting the live crowds for him,
and that's
But I think Double or Nothing could be Double or Nothing. What's their September show? All Out.
All in.
All In. No, it was All In. It's All Out now, right?
All Out.
All Out.
All in now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here it goes.
I think. Is that Labor Day in September?
Yeah.
I'm putting it out there now. I think Hangman's taking the title then.
And I will say that if they don't, then we're going to start venturing into Daniel Bryan WWE territory where they nearly wait too long.
Yeah.
Like right now, we're kind of fluttering the accelerator, and it's like, we have something here, and if we go with it, like it's going to be huge if we do it right. But if we do this too long, people are going to quit caring.
But I think they're doing it right. Like the stuff with the Dark Order, the stuff with Matt Hardy.
I agree. And here's
the lack of live crowd really hurts with this push.
Yeah. Right. AEW versus WWE. When AEW came out, I'm like, oh my God, look at what they're doing wrong. Look at what they're doing wrong. But they really did a pretty good job at not pushing too many people. Because I was like, Orange Cassidy, come on, man. Everyone will love him. You're giving him nothing. You're making him lose every match. It is embarrassing. You're misusing this talent. And then they exploded.
It's whatever.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't care. But but then they exploded him, right? So they're staging in there. You already know.
I'll give Jericho credit on that, actually.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Jericho's the one that had the match that was like, oh, which if you watch his independence stuff, that you would know he had that. Yeah. But if you didn't know who Orange Cassidy was prior to him coming to AEW, you're like, I kind of get it, but where's it going to go? And then you're like, wow, okay, so he has that next level.
Yep. Right. And but so they're trying not to shove too many down our throats for mainstream, right? So if you're mainstream and you don't know anybody, how can you give millions of them to us and make us consume and believe in all of them? So they're trying to give, okay, you already know these guys are already good, so we're gonna bleed in just one or two and have them go over the known factors. And I think that's a good way to do it. And if they continue, like you say, they could really screw it up though.
Yeah,
if they don't.
So I just right as you were talking, it came to me that I left somebody off of a very important somebody off of one of my previous lists. So I'll finish this one out and then I'll make that addendum. So MJF, I mean, my gosh.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, one of the best things going currently. This is my coin toss. Which one of these do I go with? So I'm going to say my honorable mention first, and then what actually made the list. My honorable mention would be Cesaro. My gosh, that dude should have had a title years ago.
Yeah.
But if we're sticking with current and who they're pushing and stuff, and who I see potential in, and who should have been on a previous list, it's Matt Riddle. Come on, bro.
Look,
and he goes on my best looking list, by the way.
No,
so yeah.
Hate Matt Riddle.
Oh,
bro. No.
Oh yes.
It's not bro.
Oh yes.
It's not bro. It's no. Yeah, it's just the flip flop.
Were you?
I just can't.
So when you said no, that reminded me of I had a friend of mine that when we would watch The Miz come out and he'd awesome, she'd be like awful. Were you the same kind of? Okay.
Yeah, I do. Every time he's bro, I'm like no. That's exactly what I do.
Yeah.
RVD
Riddle. I don't know why, but it reminded me of Marty the Villain, and I feel like if Marty actually does come back, he could have an impact this year too.
I would strongly agree with that. Yeah. And again, it's obvious that caveat is the same as Tessa Blanchard or I mean, even at this time, Becky Lynch. Yeah. But I would agree.
I do want to make a prediction. I do think we're going to see Becky by the end of the year. As a person who's had 2 children out of my body, I think she can be at it by the end of the year.
Absolutely. I think she can.
I think she wants to. I get this feeling in my gut that she wants to be. She's ready. Because some people, they have the kid and they're like, all right, I'm out for the next 10 years.
Well, and the unique thing here is her husband is wrestling also. And so like she's going to have that itch even more if he's over here working.
Yeah, and you know she's in the gym already. So
sure.
Yeah. So and she was in the gym while pregnant on top of it. Which,
there's photos of her out there, right? And I'm like, I didn't look that good after having my kids.
See. so that's my prediction.
He's got kids.
That's my prediction as a girl and as a girl who loves Becky. I think we're gonna see her by the end of the year.
Very cool.
And I will lose my mind.
Speaking of which, at the end of this episode, whenever I go to upload this, I will at the end of this episode, because of how well you're professing your love for Becky and Seth, Julia has written a really awesome song about the two called Becky and Seth. Is that right? Do I have that right?
Yes, absolutely. And what's funny about that is that before they were dating, they were like, I had like 3 favorite wrestlers: Becky, Bayley, Seth. And then when I found that 2 of them were dating each other, I'm like, holy crap, are you serious? That's amazing. It's almost like I called it, but
Nice.
yeah. So, but
Very cool.
it made me very happy. And then I was inspired and wrote a song. I do have 2 more songs down the pike, which eventually I would love to premiere here.
Awesome. Yes.
If possible.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I've got one about The Rock and I've got one about Roddy Piper. So
nice.
Yeah.
Are you going to, I mean, not to give it away, but are you going to use references from the I Like Pie song or whatever from WWF The Music Volume 5?
probably not.
Yes, that's the plan.
That I own, by the way, proudly.
Fantastic. But no, actually, you know, people always want to vote for The Rock. So it's actually, I will tell you the title of it is Vote for The Rock.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
there's a spoiler. She was writing this out and she'd made the mistake of putting it online. And then this new TV show came out about him running for president. They stole it from her. I'm going to just say it right now.
No,
All right.
Everybody's been talking about The Rock
Sure.
for president. So it just seemed like an obvious thing. And then the other one is WWPD. What would Piper do? So yeah. So we're gonna have
Whoop your ass. That's what
He
he did.
changed the questions.
He'd smack you with a coconut. So yeah, so that's definitely the next 2 that are kind of coming down the pike that I gotta get
Fun.
them finished.
Very
I gotta
good.
get them recorded.
Can I make a request on one of those?
Sure, let's go.
I would love to hear some bagpipes in the Roddy Piper
Oh.
song,
Okay. Yep.
even if it's. I mean, I'll just stop.
I
right
got
there.
a guy.
Well,
Just
There
a
you go.
little intro.
And you said that your other one that you had was
Best Legacy.
Legacy. Okay.
mhm. Yep. So
All right. Well, this one actually was a lot. This so far for me was the easier one because
Was
I was
it?
like,
Oh.
I was like, bing, bang, boom, bang. There's 4. Okay, done.
okay.
So
hard for me.
we'll-
Yeah, I did the same bing, bang, bang. And there's 4. And then 20 others started.
Right. Okay, so we'll keep it the same. We'll let Julia start, Stephen, John, and then myself. My pen is down, so if anybody has anything to add to whatever I have, you're gonna have to do some convincing.
Okay.
All right.
Again, this was a tough one for me because there's so many classic wrestlers that I absolutely love. And so I'm sitting here staring at a list of 6 and trying to figure out how I'm going to do this.
Okay.
So, so Ric Flair is a great place to
Who?
start. Exactly. Never heard of him. But yeah,
Maybe.
he was everywhere, you know, it's like, just some of my earliest memories watching wrestling with Dad. Rick was there and he was the bad guy that you were just, you know,
Yeah.
He was the dirtiest player in the game and you'd get to watch it every time. And he really, you know, lived into that. And now, you know, people know everything, you know, even though when was the last time he actually wrestled, but we know him, you know, and
Right.
new generations know him as well. I also go for my hometown, so I'm picking Harley Race. His level
I'm
of
glad you said that and not Baron Corbin.
I got a story to tell about Baron Corbin
Okay.
when I get done with this.
Okay.
So, but yeah, handsome Harley Race. I actually did get to meet him at a random bar in tiny little Rockaway Beach when they had had a touring group. They'd played at the high school and then showed up at a bar where my first band was playing, and I got his autograph for my dad. And
Nice.
my dad has been passed for the last 4 years, so I got the autograph.
That's
back.
very special. That's
So
awesome.
It totally is. And yeah, just he was synonymous with wrestling for me. Growing up watching wrestling with Dad, Harley was on my TV every week. And he, again, you talk about a workhorse, you talk about somebody who,
Threatened Hogan.
busted his ass. Oh yeah, and those great stories about him strong arming Hogan and saying get the hell out of town.
Right.
I love him,
Yep.
you know, and that's Harley for
Well,
me.
and I find it interesting that both you and Steven have used the preceding word handsome Harley Race instead of King Harley Race, or
Oh, well.
some of his. But that's I like that because that gives me exactly the era of this
Yeah.
is when you loved him.
It's,
No,
yeah,
exactly.
it absolutely. It
Exactly.
should-
Although when Jerry Lawler came to one of the cons and I got to ask a question, I did make sure to inform him that here the king is Harley Race.
That was
He was not happy about that.
Right. Yeah, that's a
statement,
bold
but
move there,
it is,
brother.
it is.
Oh my heavens.
He's old enough. I think I could take him.
So my next one is yet another one of my all-time favorite heels and one of the best talkers, Roddy Piper. Makes the list for me. Again, his dedication, his busting his ass, worked so hard, and yet underneath that meanness, that craziness, there what really was a heart of gold, you know. And I love all the stories about him. I love watching him. And was he the greatest wrestler? No, but like everything about him was wrestling. And so that's the reasoning why I go that direction.
Okay.
My tie and my problem is, and again, I shoot from the hip, shoot from the heart, whatever you want to call it. My runner-up is going to be Mae Young, that crazy woman. Like she, when people ask,
you think Undertaker had a run?
Oh my God! When you think about how many wrestlers talk about her and how she wrestled, she got put through a table by Bubba, and like when people ask Bubba Ray Dudley who the toughest wrestler was, first thing immediately out of his mouth is Mae Young. And I believe it, man, that woman just kept going. And the fact that he bombed her through the table, I'm just like, holy crap, she's fantastic. So she gets the runner up for me. And the only reason is because of Undertaker. He just, the entrance, the persona, everything about him, he just busted his ass, and I absolutely love him, and the persona, just every detail about him was so great. And then Andre the Giant is the Statue of Liberty. He has to have his own little area there. So you've got your Mount Rushmore of the four,
right?
And Andre gets his own thing as the Statue of Liberty. That's how I've always kind of looked at him, because he just went so far above and beyond. And even though there've been wrestlers who went into acting previous and after, how iconic is he in the point of Princess Bride that everybody knows him, and we talked about that a lot too, about, actors, how many people know The Rock, how many people know Cena, all of these people that have been acting before. People know Andre, and like I said, he gets a monument.
I think it was a honeycomb commercial more than Princess Bride, though.
But he to me gets a monument all his own, because he was a giant. And so yeah, so those are the ones that I'm sticking with. All right, go get him, man.
So my list is Flair. Cannot not have Flair, right? Bruno Sammartino. I don't know how you make a legacy list and don't put on Bruno Sammartino. Piper, he is, I believe, Hogan doesn't make the list because Piper makes the list instead of him, right? I believe without Hogan, there is a Piper and there's somebody else sitting on the other side of him.
I agree.
And without Piper, there is no Hogan. I believe that. And then Sting, and the reason that I put Sting on there is just, he was pretty iconic. Now, Flair put him over, right? So without Flair, would Sting have been Sting?
Right. I'll agree with that argument way more, because on your Hogan argument, Andre the Giant.
Yeah. But
you wouldn't have got there without Piper.
Right, exactly. Only at the end, and only because Andre let him, because he was there and he was handing it to somebody. So yeah. So Flair, Ricky Steamboat, you see how those two, it's the same thing. So that's why Flair went on there. Sting goes on there mainly because of the concept that he is the one. WCW would not exist to be in the Monday Night Wars, in my opinion, without Sting just hanging in there and keeping it going during those leaner years where everybody was jumping ship. So he gets a special mention there for just for being that guy that could have jumped just like everybody else did.
Okay.
Read those for me one more time.
Flair, Bruno Sammartino, Roddy Piper, and Sting.
Oh, we can only do 4, not 5.
Right?
Well, yeah, we say that, and yet I don't think anybody here except for you has only done 4. No, you did. You even flipped a little bit, because I did Young Bucks on one of mine, so I cheated. She cheated. You do you.
Yeah.
You build your own.
Okay, I'm gonna cheat anyway. So, Hogan, Austin, Flair, in the Rhodes family.
Oh, there's a cheat. That's a good cheat. That's a fun cheat. Come on.
I can't believe you just put Brandy Rhodes on the
Dustin too.
I just can't. That's.
But we got Gold Dust.
Oh my gosh! I can't believe you put Randy Rhodes on there. Great.
Go ahead, throw the Nightmare family on too. Let's get cute.
Yeah, let's stop it. Have an apple.
Dusty got some thoughts. It's true. That was tough. I have it in
But
my head.
but for me, it's Hogan changed it in the 80s. Flair in WCW, Hogan in WWF, Austin in the 90s, and I struggling with that last spot. I can cheat and say Dusty and lump in Cody with it too, and I feel safe with that list.
So do you feel okay? So let me dissect that just a little bit more, John. So do you think Dusty and Cody are kind of the two that not Dustin and Cody, or Dustin and Dusty?
For me, the first All In event is Cody all over it. It's Cody and the Young Bucks,
100%.
and I lump that in with changing the business forever, leaving a legacy behind, and
That's a good point.
Cody winning that NWA title off Nick Aldis at All In, the title his daddy had. That I still get goosebumps talking about it. To me, that's something that changed.
And taking himself out of the AEW title picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something he's doing right that you could argue his dad did not do as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I agree 100%, and I think that's a very valid and a great point.
And one of those moments that makes me cry is that I need that when they
brother.
had the bloody match, she's like, I need my older brother, and just crying over wrestling. Oh,
so to play devil's advocate for the sake of argument, you can't argue that a great legacy wasn't started with Goldust, and this is a whole. We'll get into this one time, and John already knows where I'm going with this, but man, Goldust started the Attitude Era to me. So I mean, what more of a legacy?
The fact that Dustin
the hottest time in the business.
Go there. Wow.
Yeah.
That says volumes about what
that's a heck of a legacy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love him for it. Goldust gave me the creeps for sure, but that meant it was working, right?
and again,
Goldust gave me hope.
But there's so many of these and that's one of them that I see that I look at and I'm like, these are god awful gimmicks. And a lot of them have been done to death. Goldust a bit had been done to death, right? And yet Goldust took it and did it right? And just took a hold of it and said, I don't know what the heck this thing is. You've heard a story about androgyny.
He had to look up androgyny,
right? But he grabs a hold of it and does it, right? And makes it work so well that those are the types that you have to contribute, not to the story writing, not to the people that made it up, but to the guy, just like Mankind, right? It took a hold of it and said, and not quite, but I can get it there.
Right.
Yeah. And even after the Goldust first run was running its course, thrown with Luna Vachon, and he took that character in a totally different direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But then comes back a few years later, fresh, and
all they needed was
a run out of it.
Charge.
Yeah. A little shock.
Let's talk about the real Shockmaster. All right. So for my list, this is surprisingly the easiest of the Mount Rushmores that we've done so far for myself. My answers have not changed. So Flair, Hogan, Taker, Austin.
And Taker was my runner-up for the Rhodes family. Yeah.
What? Taker was your runner-up for the Rhodes family? Oh, and that spot. Gotcha.
In that spot, yeah.
You know something I don't know? Nope. I think those are great lists all around.
Oh, and I did want, before I forgot, to tell you my story about King Corbin.
Yes.
So we went to a Raw event in KC, and
just one.
Oh, we've been so many. So
that one wrestling show.
That's right. She remembers it well.
So we're there. We go sit down, and there's this couple in front of us, and you could tell the wife is super excited about. He knows the story. He knows what's coming. Is super excited about wrestling. She brought 3 different signs, but there were only 2 of them. So she's holding up signs at different times, right? And so the first sign was she loved Ember Moon. So it said "Howl at the Ember Moon," right? And had this really cool little logo looking thing on it. And then the second one, she had cut out in poster board hands, and it says "Get these." for Braun Strowman, right? And so and then the final one was, I thought, the funniest of them all. And it said, and of course we're in Kansas City, and it says KC disowns Baron Corbin. And I'm laughing because I'm like, I don't mind. I think it's cool. Like, I went to Northwest Missouri State for 2 years. So that sign, I'm like, oh, that's fun. That's a funny sign. I like that. So, you know, during the commercial breaks, everybody's like, okay, everybody hold up your signs. Renee Young is like, hold your signs up so we can read them and put them on camera. Well, she's in the bathroom and the husband has got these 3 signs. It's like, I want to hold them all up. Help. And I'm like, okay, I'll grab a sign. I should have grabbed Gethy's hands. What sign do you think I grabbed? I grabbed KC disowns Baron Corbin, and there it is, my face, that poster. And
on the
there
big
it
screen.
goes on the big screen. And to the point that one of my students at my music school said, hey, you were holding up that poster.
So this is something that actually aired. It wasn't like the warm up kind of.
And the toppers at the end of the night, one of our buddies was also at the show. It's like, hey, meet you across the street at the bar for drinks. Okay, so we go across the street bar for drinks, and who's at the next table? Baron Corbin is at the next table. I'm like, hi, I hope you didn't see that.
As a good husband, I make sure to inform him of who she was.
Right.
To let him know that this is the woman that held the sign.
No, he took it in stride. He was very kind. He actually did get a picture with our buddy. So he was very nice. He's hanging with his friend, you know, his family there in KC. But yeah, it was definitely a moment.
Corbin is one of those guys where he is the heat seeker for the audience. Everybody hates him and boos him out of the building. The vibe backstage, from what I understand, is he's loved. Everybody likes him. He is an awesome Twitter follow.
Yeah.
Like, he's always doing cool stuff, like when they were traveling and like going in weird stores and buying ridiculous stuff. So
really,
yeah.
And there's nothing about his in-ring or any of his stories that have struck a really good chord with me. But I will tell you, he is like you say, he's the warm-up act. Man, if you need some heat to be, you know, if the crowd is kind of you just bring him out there and talk bad about your sports team or whatever, you know. He just draws so much. He is a furnace. He is a lightning rod, and he can just get it.
I feel like they're putting him in that role of Dolph Ziggler, where they're just gonna, somebody new's here. Go, you're working Corbin in this feud. We gotta put the new guy over.
We can't seem to get him over. He won't go face. Nobody's cheering for him. Put him against Corbin.
Well, and a lot of that is because he is reliable in the ring.
Yeah,
he's a good hand.
Yeah,
so
which is maybe the worst thing you can possibly say about anybody.
It's job security.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly so. All right. Anybody have anything else? John, do you have anything that you want to ask them?
Yeah.
Good. I have one myself. Go ahead.
For both of you guys, who is one person you would like to see show up on Raw this year, and who is one person you'd like to see show up on Dynamite this year?
Well,
we know that's happening. Give me somebody we don't know.
Right.
Well, I need Becky. I'm missing a lot of her right now, and I keep waiting. I'm like, okay, maybe it's gonna be Royal Rumble. Okay, maybe it's gonna be WrestleMania. I don't know. I just kind of need her by the end of the year. So Becky for sure. I'm just eagerly waiting. And on a side note with that, Ronda, I want Becky and Ronda to just come running out and beat the crap out of each other right now, because I just want them both back. And I'm ready for that, because it didn't quite happen, right? And we got a fabulous 3-way, you know, with when Charlotte got added to the mix. It was great, but we did not ever really get that Becky Ronda moment that I really want. So I'm ready for the two of them to come back and do it. And just lock Nia Jax away so she doesn't hurt them, please. So,
I've been saying this whole time.
I told Jared this. I really enjoyed Nia and Ronda working together.
Well, and you know what? And honestly, the reason why is because Ronda was going to get after her, and Ronda was going to keep herself safe. You know, because that's the thing.
And Nia was terrified the whole time, which was perfect.
She should be.
Agree, totally. So, gosh, who am I missing in AEW? There's somebody. I can't think of it off the top of my head though right now. Who am I missing?
Now, John, you're not necessarily just meaning comebacks. You're meaning like
anybody.
It could be,
Any indie, any free agent, New Japan, whatever.
Okay, I want Tessa Blanchard to show up in AEW. I want to see her. I want her there. So, because I, if you can't tell, I do love the women's wrestling the way it is now. I'm super happy with it. I didn't really do much about it back in the day when it was bra and panties matches and all that stuff. But when the tides turned and they actually made them athletes and wrestlers and not just cheesecake, I loved it. And so I love women wrestlers who can really do that. And so I'm still struggling to get attached to the women in AEW right now. I had a line on Chris Statlander. She's one that I missed.
Yeah.
I want her back. So yeah, I definitely want Chris Statlander back. And if I can have her come back and fight Tessa Blanchard, I think that's going to make me very happy. And that's going to set fire to the women's division in the way it needs to set fire to, because there's great wrestlers in there, but it just hasn't taken off enough for me. I'm not as excited about that as I am when I see Bayley and Sasha and all of those, in WWE. I want that fire in AEW, and I feel like we're almost there. If we could just get a Chris or a Tessa.
And for me, if Tessa went to AEW, I'd want to throw her with Britt Baker right away.
That would be
absolutely.
fun. That would be fun.
I don't know if it's right away or her second feud, but that's the match I'd want.
Yeah, I'd want a little build up there, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, well, and I alluded to it earlier. Who do I want to see anywhere in WWE? WWE has lost my faith, which is a common,
exactly how I am.
Right? A common occurrence, which means that I don't want to see anybody new in WWE because they're gonna F it up, right? I just know that they're gonna jack it up, so I don't want to see anybody from anywhere.
Perfect world. Day after WrestleMania, that Raw. Who do you want to see? Who would get you excited?
Becky. I mean, I could run them down, but they're all people in WWE, right? That aren't on TV for whatever stupid reason.
Yeah.
Bring the Fiend back before WrestleMania. Bo Dallas. I will lose my mind bringing Bo Dallas back the Monday after with his brother. Dunk him in the pool. I don't care. Bring him back. Give me something. I could, that is just one of those. And I'm not a huge conspiracy guy, but I've seen nothing online except for, man, Bo Dallas has been on there. And I've been saying this forever, but I didn't know, I don't know his contract. I don't know if he's just gone, but he's under contract. I mean, everybody knows that. I don't know that. I don't have their contracts listed next to me, but just the fact that it's out there all over the place makes me think that they're planting the seeds, right? That he's coming and they're getting the crowd excited because they can't do it in live. So they're working the works. They're working the marks to get us to it. And I would absolutely pop for him. So WWE has to be a WWE, or Aleister Black is absolutely hands down one of my favorites of all time. And I've seen nothing since NXT and it drives me nuts.
Yep.
So I'm just waiting. I'm biting at the chip. So that's another one. Okay, I'd be fine with him not coming back to WWE. And now I got a list 12 people long on AEW that might do him right, and he would be one of them. But Cesaro, I have hope for a lot of people in WWE. Cesaro, they're not going to be able to do anything. They're just not doing it because you've seen it too many times. So I would love to see him bail there and come over to AEW. And I think that his style would really roll well with them.
The rumor is he just re-signed.
Yeah, I know.
Gotcha. Well, and then that's the other thing I almost forgot to mention. I'm ready for Jeff Hardy to get thrown over to AEW so he can come back as the Antichrist. He can do Antichrist better if he would just be allowed to be in AEW and make that happen. I want it so bad.
That was one of my favorite persona is the Antichrist, and it got cut short because of his addictions, right? It ended before it came to its full natural conclusion. And I would love to see it done again, and it can't be done in WWE. I mean, no. and I'm not even bashing WWE at that stage for that. That's too mainstream. The Antichrist cannot be done in WWE. If I'm in charge, I'm not doing it. But in AEW, I think, especially this early, you could get away with it, and you better swerve him back to something else before you get that second show going, and before you get a little bit more mainstream, because you're not going to be.
And that was my favorite.
Go ahead.
That was my favorite Lake of Reincarnation when Matt threw him in and he came out as like 3 different characters, and one of them was Antichrist. I'm like, oh, I was so excited, and then he dunked him again. He's like, no, not that one, and dunks him and comes back, and I'm like, oh. I was hoping
they got you.
They totally. Oh, the Hardys.
I will tell you
love
that
those boys.
That the one that they don't mention, right? Which always makes me think, oh, there's a reason that they mention things. There's a reason they don't mention things. Willow.
Oh.
Right? I don't know why they haven't used Willow. Just snap him and make him go to Willow, right? And it just have a little bit of a run. Hell, I really kind of anticipated that when they were angling him with the Fiend. I'm like, well, they'll snap him and go Willow. Hell, he could join the Fiend for a little bit. He could be that crazy, guy. But so really for AEW, the other one, and this is the other one that is the villain.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And that's not anything new, so it's not interesting, which is why I went with Cesaro. But yeah, why wouldn't you?
I mean, the news has cooled on Marty enough that it would be a shock.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Jared, you got anybody you want to see?
Marty Scurll is who I've got written down. As a out of left field, this person made an impression on me whenever they first made their debut. Jazzy Gabbert from the Mae Young Classic from 2017. You might remember she was the big Russian with the blonde hair, the short blonde hair. Yeah, she was awesome. And I think she had a neck injury or something, and that's kind of put her out. But man, I would be super impressed to see her show up anywhere. I don't know if it would pop anybody else, but it would pop me. So I also was a fan, and I know she's in NXT UK of Piper Niven.
Yeah.
I have to say that in 2020, I think, maybe 19, whenever she debuted, I popped huge for Awesome Kong when she came back.
Absolutely.
So if she came back again, I would probably do it again. However, I will say that it did meet expectations. I think she was just out of the ring too much, and she just wasn't. She didn't bring it enough. She was playing too nice, and I'm like, I'm seeing through your stuff here. I'm not liking that. So
I will say, and I'll let Julia answer this. There's one that we've forgotten. That when you start talking NXT, I wanted to mention that I am terribly excited about Johnny Morrison's wife being signed.
Taya Valkyrie.
Whatever they're calling her in there, because they're calling her something else. But I have always been really impressed with her. Nice. But there's another sign for NXT that I will allow the wife to handle that we've popped before because she got punched out by somebody.
Priscilla?
Oh, she's killing me. There's a local local rest. There it is.
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, so somebody we know and we have had multiple conversations with just got signed to WWE Performance Center.
Okay.
Out of Kansas City, out of the local wrestling, KCXW, Cameron Brené is her current name. I have no idea what they're going to change her to. But I just found out not too long ago that she is signed. She is in that giant class along with Taya Valkyrie and like whoever else they've got in that class. And I'm just popping so hard the day I get to see her do something in NXT.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, I know her.
Even the shot.
They'll definitely change the name, not because they don't own it, but because it's just too long.
Right. Exactly.
they're in this one name zone right now.
Yeah, I'm over that.
Yeah, same.
Well, I asked the question, but I'm going to throw mine in there.
Oh, you're not going to change the question?
No. For WWE, I with Julia, I agree that Becky, Ronda would be cool. I would bet Monday after Mania we're going to see Tessa. I think that would be cool. Lesnar could come back at any time, but this one's not really like somebody showing up, but just kind of shuffling around. I want Adam Cole on Monday night, and I think that could be a Monday after Mania situation or sometime this year.
You think they'll get it wrapped up by WrestleMania, his NXT stuff, Undisputed? I think they'll stretch that one out a little bit longer.
I mean, we've got...
Why could it not carry over?
What's up, Jared?
Good.
Why could it not carry over?
Well, yeah. I
Marty
think
Marty. If Adam gets called up, and then all of a sudden, like the next week or something, then
he's Sean. He's not Marty.
You took it back. Oh my God.
I think if they really go
He wishes, by the way. He wishes. Sorry, go ahead.
Crazy with this. I think they could wrap it up Mania weekend and then have Adam on Monday.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Just throwing it out there, but that's something that would excite me. Jared, whatever the main event is for Mania, if Jimmy Jacobs came out and won the title, that would be my dream. But no one else cares about Jimmy except Jimmy and I.
Especially Sammy Guevara right now, but that's if you know, you know.
Yeah. And then AEW, Steven, with you, I'd love to see Marty show up. I've mentioned it earlier today. I want Okada at some point this year in AEW.
Yeah.
And the one I don't think will happen, Eddie Kingston would not be happy. I want Chris Hero in AEW, but I think he's going to go do some tours of Japan and go that route.
That's what I think
I don't see him going to AEW, but I would love it if he did.
But AEW is the other easy one, right? With all the crossover and stuff, you can have them do a pay-per-view and just go away, right? So you can have that easy pop. You know, it's almost like they're independent contractors. You could have them come in, do something, and then go away and do other things for other people, and just get the cheap, easy money, right?
But I would lose my mind. I'd love to see Hero show up, but he's kind of just been taking it easy, and I think his goal is Japan right now. But I'd like to see him do something on national TV here.
That's right, internet. No one said CM Punk. Suck it.
It's not the right time. I don't think 2021 is the right time. He would be on my list, but I don't think this year.
Not till live crowds.
Exactly what I think too.
Yeah.
Live crowds and all the money.
Yep.
He brings up another frivolous one I want to do someday, which is entrance music.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll not do that so that you have to come back and do another episode.
Deal.
So
it's almost like she likes music.
Before we exactly. So before we wrap things up, I want to circle back around. John, you and I have already discussed this one, so I want to pass this one over to both of our guests today. Julia and Steven, give me your Mount Rushmore of debuts.
Oh, I could hammer
right
some of this.
Boy,
Y2J.
I'm gonna.
Okay.
Hands down, my number 1, 2, 3, 4.
That was also our number one.
Right. I mean, and I'm going to go with the Y2J, the countdown.
Sure.
One, right.
Yeah.
There were a couple others that.
There's only one.
Yeah. Well, man, I do.
I do that just to poke at John.
The sparkly jacket one, where he literally said nothing forever and popped the crowd harder than anyone else.
Look at his eyes twinkle.
It is just like the first time he came out, and when he bailed, I remember looking at the other person in the room, and I think it was my boy, and I'm just like, he's healed.
Nope.
Right? I mean, I saw it coming a mile away. I'm like, that's beautiful. I love how they're doing this, because I've said it a million times. It's tough to have somebody come back as a heel. I'm going to cheat. And I'll go the entire WCW pack that came over, right? So Benoit, Saturn.
So you're talking the Radicals.
Yeah, the Radicals.
Uh-huh.
Right. They eventually called the Radicals. Those.
Uh-huh.
Moxley. Lost my freaking mind on Moxley when he came in.
Stole mine.
Boy, number 4 debut. And it came to nothing. It came to nothing, but he's one of my all-times. James Storm, NXT. Gonna go way off script on that.
Wow.
I love the Cowboy.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go get him, Wild.
There's so many better NXT ones, and I get that.
The ECW one with Matt Hardy backstage.
Mark. Sorry, I had something stuck in my
Well,
throat.
yeah, but Mark, I saw Beer Money coming to WWE. I saw it. It was right there. I could taste it. And
Sorry about.
I tasted the beer, and then no.
Sorry about your damn list.
There were so many memes about the Braden Walker 3-disc WWE ECW return set, like fake DVDs of it. It includes the backstage promo with Matt Hardy, his 2-minute match with, I don't even know who he wrestled, but yeah. Oh, I'm not thinking James Storm. I'm thinking Wildcat Chris Harris. Sorry.
Right. Yeah.
James Storm, I don't even remember him debuting in NXT.
That quick.
Yeah.
It was on I believe it was on a takeover. He did, I think, 1 or 2 NXT appearances and re-signed with TNA.
Yeah. Yeah, he debuted in NXT. That's all he did in NXT. He was debuted. And then
So let's you've got
or good for him. I don't know.
So you've got James Storm. You've got who was your first one? I already forgot. I should have written
Jericho.
Yeah. Who else? Who were the others?
Edge. Oh wait, you.
Yeah,
I put the kibosh.
That's right.
He said Moxley. Sting in Impact or Dynamite.
I mean that's a solid one, but
Scott Hall in WCW. I'll shut up.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like you're gonna give him so many ideas. I don't know which way to go.
That's a solid one. I mean, I would go with Nash. I was Nash in WCW, which was the Radicals.
Radicals.
Yeah, you did say the Radicals. Yeah. Yep. Okay.
So I agree with Moxley and Y2J.
Okay.
Those were definitely big on the list.
Yeah.
I'm going with Taker because like the commentary was given by a fellow named Roddy Piper asking about the size of that ham hock, and I'll never forget it, and it just it was a big deal, man. He was scary.
Wasn't that Gorilla Monsoon?
Scary. It was him and Roddy.
Okay.
Look
at the size of that ham hock.
Somebody said it, and Roddy was in on
Gotcha.
the commentary as well.
Gotcha.
Second biggest debut of that pay-per-view.
Stop it.
This guy. This guy.
Yeah. So, and I already said Moxley, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm stuck.
One more.
I'm stuck somewhere between AJ Styles, because I was really happy to see that. That was like really cool. Boy,
I will tell you, and some of these don't go on because of what I've alluded to earlier. I lacked faith in WWE. I almost died when I saw AJ Styles come in. I didn't know what they were. I mean, I think they did phenomenal with AJ Styles. But I didn't think that they would when I saw it. I'm like, oh my God, another one of my favorites for them to hose up. So I couldn't pop.
Okay, gotcha. And I did get a shriek and tears in my eyes when Sting came up, the Snow and the Raven, and I'm like, no way. And it just when it was like, yes way, and I'm like, oh, it just little tear in the eye, a little bit of chills and excitement, and I'm like, yay, I get to see Sting's interest again, because that's something that that still hurts us a little bit. We actually bought our tickets for WrestleMania last year only to have it all kind of go up in smoke. And,
yeah, that sucks.
It was going to be our first WrestleMania, and I was going to get to see that Taker entrance. And he's been to stuff previous and had seen it before, and I'm like, oh, this could possibly be my last chance to see Undertaker's entrance. And now I don't know. I don't know. The only and that's the thing. I don't need to see him wrestle. I just need to see that entrance, because I've been very fortunate that I've gotten to see Bray Wyatt's entrance a couple of times, which I also love. And again, there's another 4-pack that we could think our way through. But yeah, I just it breaks my heart still a little bit. And so just the concept of we'll get to see Sting, I'm kind of excited too. So getting to see that entrance made me very happy, even though it's fairly recent. It was good to me.
Good stuff.
I'm pretty sure this is one off of Jared's list, but it was Nakamura, his NXT debut on yours.
Yeah, I believe he was. Yeah,
and I love that he's back to the old music.
Same.
Like, recently.
Yeah, they should have never.
Well, and they worked so hard to make him a heel by turning down the sing-along part. I get what they were doing, but it still makes me grumpy.
But that should tell you that it's not time to turn him heel, because people didn't want it.
People still wanted to sing along.
Wait, they made him heel? They should have done something like giving him a crotch hit or something once or twice to make me understand that he was going a heel.
Yeah, a little too much.
Well, I won't reiterate our top 10 list, but I'll just say that I'm disappointed nobody else said Taz.
That
was my number
pop.
2.
It was a nice pop.
It's great.
It's great. FTW. I don't know.
All right. Well, wrestling fans and friends, that is going to wrap it up for this episode of Recliner Wrestling Review. John, thanks again, as always, for joining us. And thank you to our very first and special guests, Stephen and Julia, for joining us. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for making the trip down all the way from Kansas City-ish.
Yeah. The burbs.
The burbs.
Right.
All right, guys. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next episode.
You're absolutely great.
Absolutely.